Lord, these are all the things that we're laying down, and we will go where you say to go, even if to our eye it does not make sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very, very hard as believers when you go through such trials like this. It just shakes. It shakes the ground to be like, am I actually on the firm foundation I claim to be?
Yeah.
Or have I built a totally different idol, a different path, just something that's not actually the foundation of who I believe God to be and who he says that he is.
Hey guys, welcome back to In the Middle of It. I'm your host, Hannah Kerr. I'm so excited about today. We have an amazing guest. You might know Kolby Knell from a million different places. Maybe you've seen her on TV. Maybe you've heard her amazing music. Maybe you follow her on Instagram and love watching her relatable, funny content. Or maybe you follow her amazing adoption journey and her family. So I'm so excited to talk to her today. Please welcome Kolby Knell.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
That was such a great intro.
Man, I really was like awake at 4 a.m. last night, like planning what I was going to say. And
Wow.
I was
That's better than I could have done.
Kolby Knell is like a charcuterie board. She's like so many things all at once, like in the very best way. So
that's so, yeah, my best friend used to say, she's like, when people ask me what you do, I say, she just walks by faith because homegirl's doing something different every time I talk to her. I'm like, that sounds about right.
I really do love it. It's awesome. I feel like I was trying to think of the last time I ran into you, and I think it was at Percy Warner. We were both walking. I was with Jason. It was like, I think it was like 9 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're right. That just brought that just unlocked a whole, that's
like,
crazy.
I don't think I've seen you since then.
I doubt it.
But I doubt it. I feel like I've seen you because I follow you on Instagram. So like I follow your life. I see what you're doing. But I'm so excited to get to know you more today. Like truly, I'm so glad you're here.
I feel very honored to be here. Seriously.
I love it. You're just sitting on our love seat, just so cozy.
Just ready to hang.
Okay, so the way we usually start off on the podcast is to do like an icebreaker game. It's called Love It, Hate It, In the Middle of It. Because the podcast is in the middle of it. So anyway, I'm just going to read you a list of like 8 things, and then you tell me if you love it, if you hate it, or if you are in the middle of it. Okay,
love.
Neutral. Yes. Okay, we're starting off easy. Chick-fil-A waffle fries.
Love it.
Love it. Great.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for someone to say hate it.
I unless you're like Chick-fil-A waffle fries 30 minutes after you get them. Yes. They don't last very long.
So true. They have a shelf
fresh,
life.
Yeah, if they're fresh, love it.
I love it. Okay. Crocs. Like
love it.
You love them.
Let me just say a Croc story because I had camo Crocs when I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
Was ridiculed. Everybody was like, take those things off. And I was like, one day y'all are going to look back.
That's right.
And I'm going to say, yeah,
that's right.
So I love Crocs.
You're like, I'm a trendsetter.
I've been an OG Croc lover for like 15 years.
That. You know, Jason has a pair of camo Crocs and he wears them like in sport mode. And I'm just like, what are you doing? But I love it.
Listen,
it's great.
I'm here for it.
Incredible. Okay. Reading.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
You're a reader. I feel like I know that about you.
Yes, I am. My goal this year is 52 books.
Oh,
my goal last year was 65, but I only got to 60. So I cut myself back.
You only got to 60. That's a lot of books.
I am obsessive.
That's great.
So when I start, I'll read like 6 books in 1 week, and then I'll go like 4 weeks without reading anything.
Yes.
So
are you a physical book girl, or are you a Kindle girl?
I have both, but I prefer physical book.
Okay.
I just feel like I'm immersed more.
Okay.
Whenever I'm in that versus the Kindle, but my carpal tunnel appreciates a Kindle more than like a hefty
You're like
book.
trying to like hold the book.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm like, it is nicer.
Oh my gosh. What book are you in the middle of right now?
Gosh, what am I reading right now? Kingdom of Ash. It's the final book of the Throne of Glass series.
I have read all of Throne of Glass.
Okay, yes. I have delayed reading this for 3 months because I'm not ready. Yeah, I'm not ready for it to be over, so I'm in the middle of it right now.
It's so good. Your life is going to change.
That's what everyone says. I'm like, yeah, I don't need more change.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I love it. Man. Okay, I love you're a reader. Me too. Although my goal last year was to read 27 books, and I read 25.
That's still amazing. I know somebody who said she hasn't read one book in 10 years, and I was like, okay, we've got to step it up there.
That's so funny. It's like, no, you could have so much fun if you just dive into a fictional world with us.
Do you prefer fictional?
I do. I feel like right now I'm reading The Unseen Realm by Michael Heiser. Have you heard of that book?
No.
It's interesting. Okay. It's all about like the just like the crazy things in the Bible that we can't explain.
Yes.
You know?
Love it.
So that's like a change of pace for me because I've been like a super fictional, like kind of romantasy, but it's hard to find romantasy books that are
That's
clean content wise.
I need to send you a couple Instagram pages of
Please
girls
do.
who like only share ones that are not spicy. And,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I started
wild.
off my reading journey like not really knowing a ton about like what adult like fiction was like. And I got into like some of the first books and I was like, oh dear.
Yeah.
This is unsettling.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
like washing your eyes. You're
Yeah,
like, oh,
literally.
gosh.
Jesus, I feel like we need to talk about this and I feel like I need to turn away and do something different. So
Yes.
anyways, yes, please
I
send me
get that.
those.
No, I
'cause-
totally will.
Okay, perfect.
It's funny though, really quick. I'm also reading Your Story Has a Villain by Jonathan Pokluda. I don't know if he's a pastor in
no.
Waco, and it's on spiritual warfare and all that. So in the mornings during devotional, I read more of like a spiritual development type stuff. During nap time, I read like a motherhood book. And then at bedtime, I read like just the
Kingdom of
fun
Ash,
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I'm reading this awesome battle scene right now. Very cool. I love that. Okay, TikTok.
I don't have one. Have never
don't
used
have
it.
it. You're
Never. So I
amazing.
guess that's a hate it. But I don't hate
Yes.
it. Like
You just are.
I'm just indifferent.
You're in the middle of
Isn't
it.
love, it
That's
isn't
great.
hate. It's just indifference. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I love the Taylor Swift reference. That's so good. Okay, I feel like you just kill it on Instagram Reels. So that's like your platform. I guess.
I'm one track minded. I'm like, I can't handle another
Yeah.
platform, which people have said you could just take your stuff from Instagram and just go post it. And I'm like,
no,
that's
it's
still
different.
next level.
It's
It's just
hard.
too much.
I get it. Okay, rainy days, random, but
Middle of it.
yeah.
Yeah. It depends on rainy days, I will say, are harder with a baby. And
Yeah.
it used to be just, oh, it's a rainy day, kick up my feet, read a book, do something like that.
Yep.
And now I'm like, I've got to get you out of the house.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more
Do you guys
complicated.
go on a lot of walks and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, that's
if
so
it's
sweet.
usually if it's rainy or during the winter, I have been taking him to the mall.
I
So me
love
at like
that.
7 a.m. with about 50, 90-year-olds
I was
are
gonna
just
say.
doing laps at the mall. And I'm like, hey, Joan, how you doing?
Hey, Joan.
I'm like, how's your granddaughter? Like, it's just.
Join
yeah.
the mall walkers. I love it.
It's great,
That
though.
is a great idea, actually.
Yeah, it's
Just
really
go to the
nice.
mall.
Yeah, get your steps in.
I
Stay
love it.
warm.
That's so great. Okay, Diet Coke.
I do not drink soda, so
Okay.
hate it.
You hate it. I don't like Diet Coke either. I feel like it's one of those like polarizing things where you're either like a Diet Coke all the time, 5 a day, or 0. So
Yeah, that's
do you
what I-
drink any, like, do you have like a Poppy or like a
Um,
Zevia, or you just are like a water
I like
girl?
Poppy.
Okay.
I'm more of a add some electrolytes to water, and my
Okay.
electrolytes have like a little flavoring to them.
You're
that's
so
about it.
healthy. I love
Listen, I ate toffee pudding last night for dinner, so I'm not that healthy.
Life is all about balance,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
That's so funny. Okay, 2 more. Early mornings.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
How is that with a baby? Because I am
Oh.
scared.
It is a challenge.
Yeah.
I used to be the person who would sleep till like 11.
Yeah.
And then I got married to somebody who enjoys and prefers to wake up around 5. And so then,
sanctification.
oh, let me tell you. So then that got me to 8 a.m.
Okay.
within marriage.
Okay.
And then motherhood has gotten me to 6:30. Wow. And joyfully. Surprising.
Joyfully.
Most days. Most
God
days.
gives us grace for what we need.
You know?
I'm like, right now, that feels really scary to me.
Oh, enjoy all the sleeping.
yes.
Enjoy
That's what
all the
everyone
sleeping
says.
in.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is. But I will say, I miss it, but I don't. Like on the days
Yeah.
when Andrew will take Elliot and they'll go do something, on Saturday mornings or whatever, when I get to sleep in, I don't even enjoy it as much anymore. I'm like, there's so much of the day to now appreciate in the mornings. So
That's true. I do
Yeah.
feel like when I get up late, I feel like the day is already gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do hate an early morning flight, though.
Oh.
That's like the type of early morning that I could never have again and be okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
All right. Last one. Love is Blind. Do you like
This
that
most
show?
recent, I have not seen the most recent season.
Okay.
The
or
show
just
as a
reality
whole.
TV show in general. Like,
Okay. So I'm in the middle of it
okay.
because I experienced reality TV.
Yes.
And got a lot of insight on what's actually going on
Yeah.
behind the scenes. But you just won't catch me missing Real Housewives of Salt Lake
Oh
City.
my gosh,
So
I
like,
of Salt Lake City.
yes, that's like my
specifically.
favorite one right now. But I do love the
okay.
Real Housewives. But I appreciate Love is Blind. I can appreciate those for sure.
Okay.
But I do think it's obvious which seasons, which groups of people are like more authentically there for love. And then you can quickly be like, that
Yeah.
ain't you. And so then I don't really watch that too much.
I do feel like I find myself questioning a lot of just editing and what is real, what isn't. Even on shows like American Idol or The Voice, I'm like, I just feel like there's so much that we don't see.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, you have a unique perspective on that, I guess. But anyways, okay, that's the end. Love it, hate it, in the middle of it. You did great. That was really fun. I just like to let the guests kind of get to know, or let the viewers get to know the guest, and then I get to know you a little bit too. So
yeah, that's fun.
Okay, perfect. I am so excited to just hear about where you are right now. I feel like we need like a little introduction, like a Spark Notes version of just who you are, how you ended up here being Kolby Knell, mother. Like, just tell us a little Spark Notes version of who you are.
Okay. So I graduated high school. I'm like, when I was 7 years old.
Born on.
Literally.
Start however far back you feel.
I will elevator pitch this.
Great.
When I graduated high school, I went straight into the music industry and signed a publishing deal and a record deal back to back within year 18 and 19. And so for like the first 4 or 5 years post high school, I just got really engrossed in the music industry, in the entertainment world. I'd obviously come off of doing reality TV when I was in high school and all of that. So had different things there, and then ended up I loved doing music. I realized quickly I was not the touring artist. Like, my panic attacks post shows just never went away. I was like, maybe I'm not meant for this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have too much anxiety for this. I like to be behind the scenes. And so I toured and did that for a few years, and then went just songwriting and Instagram full time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the last 6 years, that's pretty much what I've been doing career-wise.
Yeah.
I got married 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
4 years ago.
Yeah,
That's
it'll be 4
crazy.
years in May.
Wow.
But have been with my husband. We met on Bumble. I am a
Shout
big
out to
proponent.
Bumble.
Listen,
I
big
love
proponent
it.
of the dating apps. We met on Bumble 7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be 7 years in October. And yeah, so we met, we got married, and about 7 months into marriage, we found out we could not have children. And that's kind of a whole thing. It's crazy. And I pulled back on social media completely because I wasn't sure if I wanted to share anything, how much I wanted to share. And also I was just in the trenches for those early months when we had first found out. And I'm kind of just spitfiring. And so that would have been 2022 is when we got that news.
Okay.
And I decided about 6 months into our journey of infertility to share with just throughout my social media what was going on and the details of it and what our journey was like. And then just did more lifestyle stuff for a while. And then I surprised everybody a year ago and said, guess what? We adopted a baby.
I remember that post. Iconic. Just a hard launch baby.
I just was like, because you never know going into adoption what your journey is going to be like. And we had spent so much time really trying to figure out what we felt called to do. And I didn't want to have any influence other than my husband and the Lord of what we felt like we were called to do. And so since then, since sharing about us bringing Elliot home with us, I've shared our adoption journey and what that's looked like, and just shared recently about a week and a half ago that we are expecting another baby. Elliot's biological half-sister will be joining us in about anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. I feel like you've lived so many lives, like in
I
your
do too.
years. But it's just amazing. It's amazing to me to just watch how you have bravely shared and just been so authentic on social media. I feel like just someone who's followed you, like I follow so many people and you just never know like if you're getting the real them. But something I just appreciate about you is you have such a good balance of letting people into your life, but you don't give them full access into your story and what you're going through. But I remember seeing your post when you guys shared that you had been, struggling with infertility, and just that raw video and how people just it like flocked to you. And I can't even imagine how difficult that was to share, but I just thank you for sharing it. My journey was not the same as yours exactly, but like we went through a miscarriage and just lots of like our journey was so different than we thought. And I just remember thinking like I hadn't seen a lot of people just be honest about what their journey had looked like toward having a family. And so I just appreciate you for that and your courage to share that in the middle of it, like truly before you knew that you were bringing Elliot home, like you shared where you were at. What was that decision like for you to decide to share where you were, and how did you come to the peace to be like, I'm going to let people into this part of my life?
Yeah, it was not easy. We found out end of January of 2022, and I shared it in June. So obviously there was a big gap between when we found out to when I shared. And one, I'm married to somebody who does not have social media. He doesn't do social. He's not in the entertainment. Like we are on polar opposite worlds. And so he was very much wanted to be private about it, especially at the beginning. And I did too, because there were so many emotions. And at first, my reason for not sharing was I just was so broken, and I didn't even, and truthfully, I did not believe that was I was like, oh no, this isn't real. Like I spent the first few months in complete denial that would be our story and that would be the journey that we would be on. Like I just really refused to believe it. And so I think a few months in, realizing after more doctors confirmed, because it's, you know, our situation is a bit unique. Most people assume that it's me and, oh, okay, do you have this or that and whatnot? And it's actually, Andrew was born with a genetic condition called Y chromosomal deletion, and the Y chromosome linked to his reproductive system was deleted when he was formed in the womb. Wow. And so he is unable to have children. And there was just a huge part of me that was like, no, there's no way. Yeah. And so once I realized this might actually be our reality, like this probably is, I had to then go through a season of really, really wrestling with the Lord on it, because when you go through trials and when things are taken from you that you, at the end of the day, if we were honest, we think we deserve. I thought I deserved biological children. I thought I deserved to experience pregnancy. I thought I deserved all of that. And so when that was taken from me, all I was left with was anger and entitlement, because God, how dare you do this to me when I've done all of this for you? It's what the Pharisees think. Wow. And so I had to work through that mentality. And it did not, that did not stop when I shared. I was still somewhat in the thick of it, but I was really convicted that a lot of people share things that they go through after the fact, way after, and you'll hear, oh yeah, I went through this. And you're like, when? What? And they're like, 4 years ago. And you're like, wait, what? Like, why didn't you say anything? Or why didn't? And there is, I learned this from my husband. I'm so thankful for him. He is the most steadfast, like rooted man in Christ. And I watched him faithfully trust the Lord for so long when I didn't even have the faith to be able to do that. And I think it just challenged my view of God and challenged my way of thinking of how I share something and wanting it to be with a bow tied on it, so I don't have to be asked every time, okay, when are you guys trying? Oh, okay, you know, I just wanted to have an answer to give them, and we didn't have answers, and I realized that there's so much glory that God can get when people stand firmly on faith, even in the middle of something that they have no answer to. And so that's what led me to decide to share the news.
Gosh, it's just so beautiful to watch you go through this and just trust God. Like truly, your faith is so genuine. And I've just watched you talk about, like, even what you just said about, like, I feel like I came into this thinking I deserve pregnancy. I feel like we just are in this Christian bubble where we're like, you go to college and then you get married and then you have a baby, and that's just what that's the path for everyone. And God does not promise us that. And that hurts and it does not feel good. But to watch you love God and just trust him above what to some people can become an idol of like, I have to be
Yep.
like, I have to be a wife. I have to be pregnant by this day. And like, that's God's plan for me. To watch you lay that down and surrender it and love God is such a testament to your faith. And I've just like been ministered to by your content in that way. And I know so many other people too. Like, I can't even imagine how overwhelming it is to have so many people like involved in your story. Then it's a blessing, but I'm sure there's parts of it that are really hard, of just like opening yourself up to the world and watching people say, well, just name it and claim it. Like, he's going to heal you and then you're going to receive a miracle. It's like, I don't know if that's how God works,
Right.
you know?
Right. And there's nowhere in the Bible. It's funny. I think, and I grew up in more of a name it and claim it environment. So that's very natural for me. That's why for the first few months, I was like, oh, this isn't, I'll fast more than, I'll pray more than, if I read my Bible more than, like, this isn't going to happen. Like, I just have to believe. Like, people say, don't believe the doctors. Jesus has the final word. It's like, well, yes, Jesus does have the final word once we get to eternity. But on earth, like, this might be the word and the finality of our earthly experience that we get might be infertility. And I think when situations come up, people are faced with, and we were faced with, the reality that they might not believe God is as good as they claim to. And that's what these things really sift. I think that's why these are graces from God, even though to our eye, our infertility looks like, how could this ever be a good thing? And it's like, well, one, there's also an enemy who comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but the Lord is still gracious to redeem all situations, and he's capable of it.
Yeah.
But a grace that he has brought out of our infertility is it shook me to realize, do I believe God is good only when things are to my eye good? And so then, and this is the hard part about sharing on social media, is because a lot of people come face to face with the reality that they might not actually believe that as much as they think they do.
Wow.
And so then it's the name it and claim it, don't give up. No, have you tried this? Have you done that? Or whatever. And we used to tell people, because when we found out, we agreed to take 1 full year of just mourning, praying. We weren't making any decisions. We weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
And we were praying through 3 things: adoption, any other alternative to child rearing, or childlessness.
Yeah.
And people would get so upset when we would even throw childlessness in there. They're like, well, that's obviously not God's plan for you. How could it be? And because it was so unfair. And I would be like that at the beginning when Andrew was like, these are the 3 things we're going to be praying for. And I'd be like, it would never be God's plan for us to be childless. And so but to at least, he was positioning his heart and our hearts together as a family unit of going, Lord, these are all the things that we're laying down, and we will go where you say to go, even if to our eye it does not make sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very, very hard as believers when you go through such trials like this. It just shakes the ground to be like, am I actually on the firm foundation I claim to be?
Yeah.
Or have I built a totally different idol, a different path, just something that's not actually the foundation of who I believe God to be and who he says that he is.
Yeah. And I love too just hearing how your husband's faith kind of encouraged yours in this journey, and just watching him, because I can't even imagine like being in his shoes and finding out like this is something that I didn't even know, and now I'm finding it out. And that grief in and of itself is a different journey than your grief, but also you're grieving together. And I think, I don't know, I just see a purpose in God putting you guys together to encourage each other's faith. You both have different strengths, and I'm sure handled all of this differently, but that's just a cool aspect of it, to watch you guys kind of encourage each other in your faith. Thank you for sharing about that. Like, I know that's not easy, and I think so many people are going to just really relate to what you're saying, and just be able to see someone who believes God for who he is, and not just, does God look good when I think he's good? Or if he gives me everything I want, is God good? Right. If God never gave us one thing that we want, he would be good, because that's just who he is. It's not conditional, you know? So that's just a beautiful example of really living that out. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I want to talk about your adoption journey with Elliot, and just, what that's been like. Like, obviously you guys decided on adoption. How long between deciding, okay, we're going to adopt a child? Was it to when you brought him home? Like, what was that process like?
So we have a very, very unique story.
Okay.
From the time that we started filling out our first sheet of paperwork to bringing him home, it was 6 months.
Wow.
Yes. So, and I say that timidly because I know me when I was, even before we started the adoption or just in the thick of infertility or all of that, I was grasping at other people's stories and being like, okay, that's what mine's going to be like then.
Yeah.
And so I say that not hesitantly, because God deserves the glory for that, but it was a God-given journey for us. We know incredible people who waited 3.5 years before they brought a child home. So that's what I always say when I'm talking about our adoption experiences. Hear it and be encouraged.
Yeah.
and also be in awe of what the Lord is capable of doing and he will do at times.
Yeah.
But even if he doesn't, it doesn't mean that he's not still working just as beautifully and powerfully in someone else's story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had taken a year. At our year mark, we came together and we were like still not ready. So we took another 6 months before we decided on anything because we were still misaligned on certain things. I was afraid of adoption at one point, and then Andrew was like, no, I this is where I'm feeling. And then we would switch. So like we were like, we're not making any decisions until we were aligned. And we had decided at the end of the summer of 2023 that we would start the paperwork process. We got connected to a really amazing organization called Faithful Adoption Consultants, and they're kind of the middleman between a bunch of adoption agencies all over the country. Andrew was really passionate about doing domestic adoption, and I had total peace about that. And so we had started our paperwork. It would have been middle of October in 2023. And I'll get there later. And a month into us doing the paperwork process, and mind you, usually with home studies, with applications, with you have to get certain medical exams, all of these things, on average, it takes 6 months. And ours took about 4.5 weeks.
Wow.
There were things that we were told, hey, this will take 4 weeks to even get back to you. And then 4 days later, they would call and say, somehow your results are already back or something. Like,
that is wild.
It was like God had us on the brake pedal for 3.5 years. And then it was like, lead foot on the gas.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay.
Wow.
And so all these things were it was happening very fast. Our home study took weeks, and because the woman we got paired with, she goes, usually I have like 5 to 10 couples I'm working with, but right now you're the only one.
Wow.
And so I'm just going to give you guys all my time for the next few weeks. Like, it was insane. And then in the middle of that, we got asked to do respite care and foster for a 2-year-old little boy.
Wow.
And so we almost stopped all of our paperwork because we were like, okay, wait, is this what the path we're supposed to take, Lord? He wasn't up for adoption or anything, but we were like, but what if he is? And so we had kind of said going into it, filling out applications, anything the Lord presented to us or any person who called. Once you become the couple who has adopted or it's interesting, you get a lot of different phone calls of like, I heard of this. Are you guys open? And we just early on were like, we're going to keep open-handed with it. And so we did respite and foster with that little boy for a while. And then ended up getting adopted by an incredible family who we were the connector to that. And so it was like, that was that. And then our paperwork process went so much faster. And so we were approved January 2nd to start seeing adoption cases. And 3 days later, we were matched with and chosen by a birth mother.
Wow.
Now that was not Elliot's birth mom.
Okay.
We were matched with her, and we flew. That birth mother was living in Texas, and we flew about a month later to meet her and to, we expected a baby boy, and we came home empty-handed the night before we were supposed to meet her.
Oh man.
We found out that the birth father had found out about the pregnancy, wasn't aware of it, and wanted to raise his son. And he had the support of his parents, and they were strong believers. And they were like, do you guys want to just kind of fight this out? It was a totally different agency. And we were like, absolutely not. Like this. Yeah. And God designed families to be together. Right. And we are on this side of heaven where there's brokenness and there is the fall. And so it's really hard to rationalize and try to understand as two people who are so desperate to be parents, but realizing that like the best thing is for that baby to be with their biological family. Like if that's the safest, best thing for them. And so then we went through a season, I say a season, we only had a couple weeks to be able to bounce back before they were like, we have to start showing you to adoptive or to birth parents again. But that entered another layer of just wrestling through, just the sorrow of coming home to an empty crib. And again, feeling it's that little voice. It's like, you shouldn't, like, you deserve this. How could a good God, like it's just those voices that the enemy loves to try to tell you that God isn't who he says that he is. But I say all of that because if we wouldn't have been chosen by that birth mother, we were then caught up with that for a month. We were then caught up. There was like some legal things to get us the funds back that we had paid for that adoption agency. And it was about a 7-week period that we were caught up in all of that. And mind you, we're over here like we're missing out on our, like, what if we missing, what if whatever. But Elliot's birth mother did not go to the new adoption agency we ended up working with until pretty much the end of that journey. And so if we weren't caught up in that, she never would have seen our profile exactly when she was meant to because of just how it works. And so we got out of that whole thing, tried to heal as much as we could, as fast as we could. And 2 weeks later got chosen by our son's birth mother.
Wow.
And that would have been middle of March. And he was born the middle of May.
Wow.
So, yeah.
When you got chosen by her, did you feel like because of the previous experience, you were kind of guarding your heart?
Absolutely.
Like,
I was terrified. We had told like all of our friends and family the first time because who we worked with and this agency, they really, really, really are mindful about making sure their birth mothers want this. And so they have a very high success rate. And it's like 98% success rate for placement because they truly make sure their birth mothers know this is what I want, this is what's best, and feel comfortable. And it's open adoption. So they place, adoptive parents with the birth parents. And so I went in once again being like, all right, we're guaranteed this. And we weren't. So the second time around, I was very scared. We told probably a quarter of the amount of people that we did. We did just a small baby shower with just family because I was like, well, what if we get all this stuff and then I come home empty-handed again? So I was very, very scared. The Lord was gracious to help me try, but honestly, up until like those papers were signed, I was just holding my breath.
Yeah.
And which then, enters you into a whole nother season of just things the Lord had to work in through me those earlier months because I had really blocked my heart and my mind and not prepared necessarily as much as I wish I would have mentally and emotionally. But I was just so scared. And by the grace of God, we came home with him and he is ours. So it was definitely, it's a lot of emotions.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't even imagine like psyching yourself up to be like, we're bringing this baby home. And then the circumstances change, which like you said, is for the best for that baby to be with their family. But it's just so difficult. I know there's so many things at play because you recognize like this birth mother is choosing to give up her child, which is like the most selfless, loving thing she could do, but it's also so difficult. And then you guys are welcoming this baby and there's so many unknowns. There's just so much to balance. Something I have really just like appreciated about what you've shared about Elliot is how you have honored his birth mother and been able to even just include her in I think you mentioned in your post when you first brought him home, like you named him Elliot and she chose his middle name. Is that right?
Yes.
Like that's so beautiful. What a way to like bring his story together, even in his name. I feel like a lot of people would not even think to do that. And so that says a lot about you and how you recognize that this is like a very layered situation. There's so much going on. And I think that Elliot will really appreciate that, like as he grows up, just knowing that he comes from a mom who loved him so much that she gave him up, and then a mom who loves him so much that you guys would care for him as your son. Like he's your son. Yeah. And that's just so beautiful. Like it really is. Man, I I'm so glad for you guys that this is your story, that you have this son. And what was it like when you guys first brought him home? Like, were you terrified? Did you have no idea what you were doing? Did you figure it out? Like,
yeah, he was born we live in Tennessee. He was born out of state and in a different state.
Okay.
And you're required basically to stay in that state until they allow you to cross state lines.
Okay.
So it's up to 2 weeks. So we were in like an Airbnb in a different state with this 4-day-old baby.
I can't even imagine.
Oh, we both at one point, I called our families just crying because we were like, what do we do?
we have a kid.
He just cries. And like,
we're in an Airbnb.
No, literally. And so those earlier days were definitely beautiful. And honestly, I cherish that time that we had with just him.
Yeah.
It was really special, but it was a lot. And then we got to come home, and then I feel like we had just settled into our routine there of figuring things out. And then we had to start over because we got back, and then it's like he's sleeping in a different place. And now there's a time change and all these different things. So it was interesting, but it was good. The first couple months, I experienced some pretty severe postpartum, and I did not know that adoptive moms can experience that.
Yeah.
And we have like a family practitioner. And so when I would go for Elliot's checkups and stuff, and she would check in with me, she was like, hey, what you're experiencing and describing, like, that's postpartum. I was like, I can't have postpartum. I didn't give birth, like whatever. And she said, no, most of my adoptive moms do, because your brain is literally working into overtime because there was no physical bonding with this child, but like your brain and your body knows I need to bond and connect with this baby because they are mine now. And so it's like your hormones, everything was just insane. And so I had a really, really rough first 8 weeks. It wasn't, it's so hard to describe. It's so bizarre because I would look at it and be like, I love you so much. But there is a part, and I've met friends who have biological children that they felt this with them as well. But I would just hear this voice of like, you're not really his mom, like you're his babysitter. And you're just here temporarily, like, but you're not really his mom. And it just really plagued me for a long time. And then my body was physically the same as it was before him. And so my body's also like, all right, why are we slowing down so much? Why are we staying home so much? And so having to really navigate the mental changes, the physical changes of being home, of taking care of him, of, from what I have heard within pregnancy, especially when you're in that third trimester, like you're getting up to go pee a lot in the middle of the night. You're like, your body is already kind of naturally prepping you for that. Yeah. And we went from, we could sleep 12 hours. So then the next day it's like, and you're taking this baby home. Good luck. And so it took a lot more adjusting for me than I thought that it would. And then I felt so much shame and guilt for that because I had only ever wanted to be a mom. And I thought I would just be like, oh my gosh, bippity boppity boo and over here and be like, oh look, I'm like a little fairy mother. No, I was like a gremlin. I have to wake up again.
How could you not be? I feel like that is so much change, and like, you weren't even sure if you were going to get him, and then you get him and you're like thrown into this new life. And it makes so much sense to me that you would struggle with postpartum, and like that makes sense. It is like you're in a fourth trimester with him. And it's a huge adjustment. Like I can't even imagine. So those first 8 weeks were rough, but then did it get better from there?
Yes, it did. I think a couple things helped. One, Andrew was very helpful in that. And then also I realized that I was viewing motherhood as everything I was losing. I was losing my independence. I was losing the ability to go wherever. I was losing sleep. I just viewed it from that lens for way longer than I wish I would have. I'm grateful that I did. So now I can be more prepared and also help other moms and friends and encourage them of, it is a loss, but there's so much more you're gaining, but you have to make efforts and pray and ask the Lord for the eyes to be able to see that, because if not, it is very easy to be exhausted, tired, hungry. You never eat a hot meal for those first few months because it's like somebody's crying, somebody needs something, and it's just, and also they just sleep and poop and pee. Like, they, you know, right?
Just like a loaf.
There's not a lot of engagement there.
Yeah.
So you're like, is what I'm doing even working? Like,
Yeah.
are you in there? Like, and so I think that kept me from seeing the blessing and the beauty of the season that I was in, and also from seeing the fact that I was living an answered prayer. But and I give myself a lot of grace for those earlier, because I truly, hormonally and mentally, there was so much going on that I couldn't control.
Right.
But I wish, and my hope and prayer and goal this next time around is to really go into it being more centered on the Lord and what Scripture says about raising children and the gift that it is and the beauty that comes from it. But sometimes you just don't know until you go through it, and then you're like, oh wow, okay, I experienced that and now I know better. But
I do
it
feel
gets better.
like
It's the best. It's literally the best.
Yeah.
Andrew and I every day are like, I didn't think it could get better than yesterday, but somehow he just looked at me like a little extra long and grinned, and like, it's better than it was yesterday.
That's so sweet.
It's the best.
I do feel like the enemy is so crafty to take the thing that you have prayed and longed for and flip it on its head and try to make you complain and see the worst parts of it. I feel like I've experienced that, like even in pregnancy, something I've prayed for and longed for, and then as soon as it started being like, I feel horrible, I thought it'd be cute, and it's not. It's really hard, and I feel like ugly, and this is worse than I thought it'd be. But I felt so convicted in the middle of that to just be like, no, I asked for this. I prayed for this. I begged God for this. And I want to switch my perspective to gratitude and everything that I have prayed for. And I don't know, I just feel like it's sweet to know Jesus and to be like, just help me flip my perspective on this, to really enjoy it and to thank you for it. Like, this is an answered prayer. It's just, I think it's so easy to just let ourselves, our sin nature, or the enemy, whatever, flip that in our minds and be like, this is worse than you thought.
And it's nothing new. Like, the Israelites were doing it all throughout Exodus and Deuteronomy. It's a constant. I'm going through that right now, so it's like super fresh in my brain.
Me too.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I was in Deuteronomy 6 today.
Okay, I love that. I'm actually in Leviticus.
Okay. Love it. But they are constantly told to remember. Constantly. Like, the start of Deuteronomy is literally just regurgitating what you feel like you just read in Exodus, but it's because that new generation, their parents forgot. And he was saying, don't forget. Like, your parents, like, do not, you are living in, you are rescued out of what you prayed to get out of slavery in Egypt. Like, you are living in the promises of God. You're about to enter in the land that you've hoped for, and yet you're complaining about, well, the giants look a little too big. It's like,
you're like, hello,
do you know who God, like, and so it's nothing new. It's just what we as Christians, I think, wrestle with. And there are, strategic things that the enemy can do to try to turn our eyes away from the cross, to keep us from looking at, no, this is where the Lord has brought me. This is what he has done for me. This is what he is currently doing. Like, it's not new.
Right.
Satan is basic. He has 3 tactics. It's like steal, kill, destroy. That's all he can do. And so it's like, that's what he wants to do. He wants to steal your enjoyment of pregnancy. He wants to steal my enjoyment of motherhood. Like, and if he succeeds, then the only one who loses is me.
That's so true.
And then you look back and you're like, wait, what the heck? I'm living in the promises of God. How am I not waking up and rejoicing?
It's that, and also there's so much grace, because it is the biggest transition.
The first few months and stuff and all of that stuff, but it took months and months to get to. Once the hormonal and all that stuff was out, there were still just habits that I had built of ungratefulness and complaining, and like, still had to till through those soils and be like, no, stop it. Like, at some point you got to grow up and, like, spiritually, like, come on, you're better than this. You know the word, you know what God says. Let's get in.
Do you feel like your faith has just grown so much in the past 4 years? Like, all of this that you've wrestled through, that you've gone through, the promises you've received, the ones that you have, like, I just feel like your faith has to feel like it's just grown exponentially, like, through this whole process. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's 50-50 of exactly what you described, and then also feeling like I had it so wrong before, so I feel like I'm starting at ground zero in a way. Because, like I shared earlier, it's when you go through such severe trials, and our infertility was one of about 6 I won't share the other things. There were things externally, there were things maritally. Like there were some huge things that happened to us. I mean, we were robbed. Like that's like one I'll share. But there was like familial things that happened. Like there was so much that came at us in our first few years of marriage.
Yeah.
And then infertility and all that stuff on top of it. And it really did shake what I believed. And I realized the faith that I claimed to have, or even what I thought I believed, was so not in alignment with the scripture. And so it made me pull back. Like I used to do so much more like faith content and like, this is what I'm reading in the scriptures. But I pulled back so much because I took a second and I was like, I don't know if I even believe what I'm claiming that I do, or if I actually understand it the way that I thought.
Yeah.
So I like pulled back in a way. And then I do feel, especially this last year, that he's just rebuilding it like brick by brick in a way that's actually not going to be shaken.
Yeah.
That it was shaken 4 years ago. And thank God that he tore down a lot of those things, because that was not a faith that could last. And it almost didn't last in certain parts and seasons and moments.
Yeah.
But I'm just, Ephesians 1 says, may the eyes of your heart be enlightened to the truth. And I feel like he has enlightened the eyes of my heart. And it is not by my doing. Like, I thought I was doing everything right for the first 25 years of my life. And by his grace did he enlighten the eyes of my heart over these last few years. And so I'm just so humbled to be like, oh, okay, I get what this means. Like, I get the scripture. Like, okay, you are good. That is a fact. That is not based on circumstance. Like, it's, so yes, to answer your question, it has wrecked me in the best way. And it's also humbled me to go, may I never be somebody who is not, be a believer who's not willing to sit and listen and say, maybe I have this wrong, Lord. But to humbly come before him at all things, because there's going to be more tragic. We probably haven't even gone through the hardest years of life yet, which is crazy. And part of it's like, that sucks. But it's also like, but it's also part of it. And it's, and that's how he is glorified, is by his followers going through things and saying, I will stand firm. I will praise the name of the Lord my God, whose ways are higher than mine, and who knows more than I know, and who sees things that I can't. And I may have an answer on this side of heaven. I may not. Like, I may never get an answer to certain things until I'm in heaven and eternity with him. And is that okay with me? And I can say that, yes, now, and I couldn't have said that 5 years ago. And I'm so grateful.
Oh, you're amazing. Like, truly.
No,
we're not even done, but you are so inspiring to me.
I promise.
Okay, I want to talk about literally what you're in the middle of right now, which is preparing to adopt another baby. You're going to have two under one.
2 under 1. Yes, they will be 11 months apart.
Oh my goodness, you got Irish twins.
No, literally.
Wow. How are you feeling? Like, what are all the emotions in your mind right now?
Yeah, it's so a month before we started our adoption paperwork, 2023, end of September, I had a dream. And in the dream, the Lord said, I'm giving you a son and a daughter within 1 year.
Whoa.
And I used to be somebody who I would see something on here and be like, wait, that relates to this. That means it's a sign and I have to do this. So I have learned to test all things and to not put all of my eggs in the basket of like, this is what God said. It's like, no, the Bible's clear. If it's actually from the Lord, it will come to be. And so I had heard that. I told my 3 best friends and I was like, just remind me if this ever comes to be. And honestly, in my mind was, okay, we're going to adopt a baby and then I'm going to get miraculously pregnant. And that's what's going to happen. So that was kind of in my mind for a while. And then it was out of sight, out of mind for the longest time. And we have an open adoption. And so we were called by our birth mother to let us know that she was expecting again. And I cried first, and I didn't cry with her. I was like, "Oh, okay." And I got off the phone, and I had just come out of like my postpartum stuff, and I was like, just freaking out, like full blown panic attack. Andrew's like, "It's gonna be okay. We can take time to pray. It's all right." And so I calmed down, and I told my best friends, and they all said, "Do you remember the dream you had a year ago?"
Wow.
And I was like, refresh my memory. And they were like, it's in your journal and we have text to prove it. And they reminded me of that. And so all that to say is I feel like the Lord has prepared my heart and mind for this subconsciously in ways.
Yeah.
And then from the moment we found out about that, I was terrified, but then that was just brought to my mind. And I was like, okay, like we lost that first child for a reason because my dream was way before then when I felt like you were stirring that within us. Even our birth mother said the moment I saw your guys's, profile that she gets because she chooses, she was like, I immediately felt like God said, this is who is supposed to be your children's parents.
Wow.
And so I am freaking out, but when I have my freak out moments, I go back to those things of, Lord, you have prepared this and you have strategically orchestrated all of this.
Yeah.
And so the 2 under 1 sounds terrifying and it's going to be really hard. And the Lord has been gracious to put some older women in my life who have Irish twins or who have experienced this, who have been able to help give me encouragement and also just be real of like, hey, the first 6 to 12 months with that age gap is like really rough. But then the second they hit like, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, like you will look at them and go, I can't even believe there was ever a moment this wasn't going to be our family. Yeah. And so that's what I'm going to. So yeah, I'm trying to prepare as best I can mentally and emotionally and now knowing things this time around that I didn't before. But I fall back on that of like, Lord, you have been orchestrating this since way before I even knew.
That is
way before any of us knew. And so she's meant to be with us.
Yeah.
And Elliot's meant to be with us. And I am just excited. I'm like, I just can't wait to see the purposes the Lord has for them. Like that's what I'm most excited for right now.
When you found out that she was a girl, was it just like, duh?
No. Okay. So honestly, there was a part of me that was like, okay, it wasn't that like, nah, it's not that real. So I had told myself it's going to be a boy and kind of wanted, I was like, oh, 2 brothers back to back. But then I was like, but then what if we adopt a girl years down the road who's not biological, and then he's like, I'm not connected like the brothers. So I went back and forth through all of these fears and all of these things. But at the back of my mind was like, it's a girl. Like, it's gonna be a girl. But then I was like, well, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I heard wrong. And then, my best friend, we got to do like a gender reveal just with Andrew and I because we were able to find out earlier this time.
So sweet.
And I called her after. I was like, it's a girl. She goes, obviously it's a girl.
I mean, duh.
She goes, come on. Like,
you had the dream.
I know. I think there just was a part of me that was like, maybe I was just a little cuckoo. Like I had too much ice cream before bed or something. But I'm like, no, it was, And so then we're not sharing her name until she's born. But I will say that we were trying to figure out her name and we went through our lists that we had and we were like, none of these feel right. And then randomly threw out a name. And Andrew was like, I like that name. I was like, I do too. I was like, well, let me just look it up. I want to make sure it doesn't mean anything, like bitter witch or something. Like, I'm like, I don't want something good. And the name that we said that we liked, we looked it up and it means a dream given by God.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, I know. So somebody's going to be able to figure it out.
I know. Now they're going to be like, ChatGPT.
It doesn't.
Nobody use ChatGPT. Okay, wait until the baby's born.
I don't really care. So we have her name picked out. We've chosen it. We chose her first name and their birth mother has chosen her middle name as well. So
sweet.
Yeah, we're excited.
That is so exciting. Yeah. It's going to be so sweet for Elliot to grow up with his sister. Yeah. And I'm just so excited for you guys. Like, I know it probably feels like a whirlwind and just craziness, but it's going to be so good. It's going to be so sweet. I know it'll be so hard, but I just admire you guys so much. You've gone from 0 children to 2 children in the span of like 2 years or 3 years.
Andrew's like, wow, we have 1 child for every year of infertility that we've experienced. I said, well, thank God it was 3. So maybe we'll
thank goodness.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
That is so exciting. I'm overjoyed for you guys. Thanks. You are such an amazing mom. Like, I can just see the depth that you have of love for Elliot and for his sister, and it's just so sweet. I'm so happy for you. Thank you so much for just sharing your testimony. Like, this is a testimony of who God is in your life and just what he's brought you through. And I'm sitting here like I could run a marathon. I can't run a marathon, but like I'm just so excited. Like, just God is so good, and he's just redeemed so many things, and here you are. Like, I'm just really grateful to know you. So thank you for doing this. We do have one more little section of the podcast. It's called the middle moment, but this is the end. So it's kind of just our fun way to end. Okay.
I love it.
So I have this handy dandy wheel.
Love.
It has 8 categories on it. You're going to spin it.
Okay.
And then we're just going to talk about whatever it lands on for like 2 minutes to end.
I love it.
Okay. Just give her a spin. Amazon.
Bigfoot. You know what's funny?
Okay.
This I felt like
hilarious.
I was going to end on Bigfoot.
Okay. It is hilarious how much I've talked about Bigfoot on this podcast.
Wait, really?
Should we respin? No, I mean, if you have thoughts on Bigfoot, please share them.
Well, this is just going to unlock a Pandora's box of other conspiracy theories, I believe. So
we're here for it. Just whatever you want to do.
Okay, so what about Bigfoot?
So really just what are your thoughts on Bigfoot? Like, do you think he exists? Do you think that he is interdimensional? What do you think about him?
You know, I haven't put too much thought to Bigfoot as much as maybe like aliens or I don't know, or like chemtrails or I don't know, things like that.
How many conspiracies do you want me to talk about?
How many can I bring up without getting canceled? No, I mean, I don't know. I've seen some of the footage and all of that stuff. I live very open-handedly.
Me too.
When it comes to certain things. Like, I'm not somebody who it needs to be absolute, like, there has to be 100% concrete evidence. I'm like, Like, I think mermaids exist. I don't think they're Ariel singing under the sea.
Right.
I think they're a little creepy and, like, giving more... I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. So, like, the girls in there, the mermaids in there, I'm like, that's probably more the vibe. So, I don't know. I'm big on, like, who knows? It could totally be.
Yeah.
Now, interdimensional. when you say that, you mean like he can go through different dimensions? Like, I mean, kind of walk through them?
So, to be honest, like this is where I land. Probably is that I haven't put that much thought into it.
Oh, okay.
But
I will be thinking of this for
my
weeks.
husband has put thought into, like, he loves a good conspiracy. He's not a conspiracy theorist, but he's just like intrigued. I'm really putting him on blast in this moment.
Listen,
but like we've just talked about how like maybe Bigfoot, you know, the reason why people have seen him but no one's found like a Bigfoot body or like something like that is maybe because he is interdimensional and he steps through a portal and then is no longer in this world, but he leaves
I would believe it.
a trail. I don't know.
I'm just as long as it's not dishonoring to the Lord or the Bible, I'm like,
that's right.
All hands on deck.
I feel like the book that I'm reading, The Unseen Realm, it's like there's so many weird things in the Bible that we just like accept and we're like, yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, like you said, I'm open-handed to whatever. But Jesus is king. I feel like sometimes we can like get too deep in like, you know,
but people do that with Enneagram and personality. Like
totally.
Anything can become an idol or can become
so
like
true.
You're making a good thing into a mini lowercase g God.
Yes.
But I just think God is so big and vast and omniscient and like omnipresent. And it's like, who knows?
Who knows? He could have made Bigfoot.
He could have made Bigfoot.
That's right.
Bigfoot could be chilling over in Galactica right now. We don't know.
Galactica.
We don't know, but how cool is it to think?
I
still go to Harry Potter World and I'm like, you know, there's a part of me that still thinks that there's just a little something going on. Like, and just like, no, there's not.
To this.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, that butterbeer's just too good to not have magic in it. You know what I mean?
That's so funny.
I don't know. I live very open-handed with that type of stuff. I'm like, as long as it's not heretical to the scriptures. I mean, there were like giants were supposedly you know, the offspring of angels who mated with the women on earth.
So much
and it's
mystery.
Like, there's so much.
Yes.
Maybe that's what Bigfoot is. Maybe he's what are they called?
Nephilim.
The Nephilim. I was going to say Nephilim.
Maybe he's a Nephilim.
Maybe he's a hairy Nephilim. And he's like got the short end of the stick on body odor. And you never know.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, thanks for indulging the middle moment.
Course.
That's great. Thank you for doing this today. You are amazing.
Me.
And I'm so grateful to know you. Kolby, thank you for being in the middle of it. Yay. That's a wrap.
Yay.
In the middle of it.